Everywhere you look in my background, you'll find people who despise America and want to transform it radically. Americans often wonder, why am I so comfortable with anti-American extremists? And why are they so comfortable with me? People also wonder why I polarize America at home.
Average income of the top 1%, the breathtaking greed of a few,
And apologize abroad.
There have been times where America's shown arrogance.
Well, you'll understand as I tell you about the dreams from my real father. My real father was communist Frank Marshall Davis. He was a card-carrying member of Communist Party USA, card number 47544. He was a Marxist and staunch supporter of Uncle Joe, Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin. I am what's known as a red diaper baby, the child of a Communist Party USA member. My real father was a communist organizer in Chicago and Hawaii, as well as a talented writer and poet.
Frank Marshall Davis, writer.
The FBI had Frank Marshall Davis under surveillance for 19 years, compiling a 600-page FBI file. I have my mom's long chin, but many features are from my real father. My eyes, brow, nose, and lips. My smile, my body and stature, and my build. We're both 6'2", and my deep voice.
Joined together many times to counteract what is going on and the attitudes of whites.
We both smoke. Like my real father, as I get older, age spots are showing up. I look more like him every day. Even if you find this hard to believe, you'll see that Frank Marshall Davis was my ideological father, beginning with my formative teenage years. He taught me the doctrines of Karl Marx, embedding me with the ideology of class struggle that he said would one day bring a dictatorship of the proletariat to America. By the time I was 18, Frank Marshall Davis's worldview became mine. And my mission in life was to fulfill his dreams.
My father was a foreign student, born and raised in a small village in Kenya. He grew up herding goats. My father grew up herding goats in Kenya.
I know. I sold myself to America as the multicultural ideal.
With a father from Kenya, a mother from Kansas, and a story.
Typical white folks from Kansas moved to Hawaii, where my mother married an African student, a loving family separated only by the Kenyan's desire for a Harvard education. But the rock upon which I built my political career was only a fairy tale. To get elected, I systematically misled the American people.
My father was from Kenya, from Africa.
In order to obscure my true political foundations. I don't fancy myself a liar, but the dreams from my real father, changing America by replacing capitalism with socialism, far outweigh any obligation to tell the truth.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
Look, my election was not a sudden political phenomenon. It was the culmination of an American socialist movement that my real father, Frank Marshall Davis, nurtured in Chicago and Hawaii, and has been quietly infiltrating the U.S. economy, universities, and media for decades.
We are the ones we've been waiting for.
This is the story I would have told if I were being honest with you. Now, let me introduce you to my real father, Communist Frank Marshall Davis, and his dreams. Three years after the Bolshevik Revolution, the American Communist Party was founded in Chicago by journalist John Reed. For the next 60 years, CPUSA received funding and orders from Moscow, which it implemented without question. In 1930s Chicago, CPUSA targeted journalists for recruitment because of their ability to spread Soviet influence in American public opinion. My real father, Frank Marshall Davis, was one of them. A graduate of Kansas State Journalism School, he joined the Communist Party and began writing for the Chicago Star. During his 20 years in Chicago, my father wrote for all the communist publications and was deeply involved in an astounding number of communist front organizations. Frank Marshall Davis was assigned by CPUSA to recruit blacks into the movement. My father authored 3 major volumes of poetry.
I was known as a realist. I wrote about whatever I felt, hitting as hard as I could.
Many poems were political, which often contained proletarian messages. He believed all poetry was propaganda.
Take it then from the careless fists of the money drunk. Place it in the reaching hands of the little people.
As a Marxist, many of his poems were anti-religious.
Your tales about Jesus of Nazareth are no go with me. Christ is a Dixie nigger.
My father was an avid photographer. While in Chicago, he started a camera club.
The Lens Camera Club. I have to have been president of it.
He specialized in nude photography. My father also wrote columns on jazz and was a DJ for a jazz radio station.
I was involved with the Abraham Lincoln School. This was a progressive school.
Chicago's Abraham Lincoln School was a communist-run training school. My father was on the board of directors. He helped write the Marxist curriculum and lectured on American imperialism, colonialism, and jazz. He met his wife at the school, a white socialite, 18 years his junior, who was also a CPUSA member. By World War II, Communist Party USA had grown to thousands of members, all loyal Soviet patriots. Some became spies. and stole America's plans for atomic weapons, helping to ignite the Cold War.
Well, you know, I had an FBI agent who had been my personal agent.
The FBI began tracking my father in 1944. He was placed on Security Index A, meaning he would be immediately arrested in the event of war with the Soviet Union. U.S. naval forces in Hawaii were an obstacle to Soviet expansion in Asia. So in 1948, the Kremlin ordered CPUSA to facilitate a U.S. withdrawal from the islands. CPUSA assigned Frank Marshall Davis to Honolulu, where he began writing for the communist newspaper, the Honolulu Record. In his frankly speaking columns, he flawlessly mirrored official Soviet propaganda. He blamed American capitalism for starting World War II, denounced the Marshall Plan, and demonized President Truman as a fascist colonialist warmonger itching to launch World War III. He preached government health care, wealth redistribution, nationalization of industry, and bashed Wall Street. Anyone opposing socialism was KKK, a white supremacist.
Crisis in Honolulu, caught like the rest of Hawaii in the paralyzing grip of a dockman's strike.
I met all of the ILWU top brass.
My father helped organize the communist-controlled International Longshore and Warehouse Union. In 1949, they mounted a strike aimed at taking control of the island. It eventually failed after 177 days. As in Chicago, Frank Marshall Davis was given the task of recruiting blacks for the Communist Party. Comrade Frank Marshall Davis suddenly appeared on the scene to propagandize the membership with the purpose of converting it into a front for the Stalinist line, complained Edward Berman of the Honolulu NAACP. The National NAACP revoked the Hawaiian chapter's charter to prevent a communist takeover.
The Eastland Committee, I was under subpoena then to testify.
In 1956, my father was subpoenaed by the Senate Subcommittee on Un-American Activities. When asked about his Communist Party membership, he pleaded the Fifth.
That would indicate that I had been a member of the Communist Party, and I have never told anybody that.